Chris here, joined by Katie, and the topic today for Consulting Conversations are side hustles.
Yeah, so specifically what we will be talking about are 3 common mistakes that you should avoid when starting your side hustle. So Chris, why don't you start us off by just sharing our definition of what a side hustle is?
Yeah, that's important because these mistakes are directly related to that. So a side hustle is something you're doing on top of. You have some other source of income, a regular job, a full-time job, and you have some entrepreneurial itch that you're trying to scratch. And so you're going to do something on the side, evenings, weekends, whatever it, around your regular work schedule. And you might be doing it for a couple different reasons. You might be doing it because you want to start to build out a business that ultimately you're going to transition into full-time. You might be doing it because you've got a passion and you just want to bring more of that into your life. Or you might be doing it because you really want to generate another source of income. So lots of different reasons. But the key idea is this. It's something you're doing on top of your regular source of income.
All right. So yeah, what's the first mistake that comes to mind when you think of starting a side hustle?
Yeah. So it's that notion of, by its nature, a side hustle you're doing in addition to your regular full-time job. And so the mistake we want you to avoid, we don't want you to make, we want you to avoid, is not managing effectively the work that you do for your employer and at the same time not managing effectively the work you're doing for your clients. Both of them are going to expect you to show up, to do the work, to do work on a timely basis. At a minimum, you want to check with your employment agreement, any that you have, make sure that there's not an NDA in place or something that prohibits you from doing this. And then what you've got to do is start to think about what's your plan for delivering high quality work to your clients in the time that they need them and your responsiveness to them, and not letting your work quality suffer with your employer. I'd suggest that if you have the opportunity and if it fits, this won't fit for everybody, but you go to your employer with that plan and be transparent and say, hey, look, here's something I'm excited about. I'm going to do this on the side. Here's how it's going to work. Trust me, the quality of my work is not going to diminish. If it does, I want you to talk to me. But this is the reason it's not going to, because I've got this in mind. So that balancing both your client's needs and your employer's needs and figuring out how you're going to do both effectively is something that you want to put a plan together and really execute against.
Yeah, and so speaking of plans, really the second mistake that we see people making as they start a side hustle is not having a plan for their side hustle. And we're not just talking about the plan between your employer and your clients, but in general, what is it that you're actually going to be doing in your side hustle? And what we see happen is often people jump straight into forming an LLC and naming their business and branding it because they're so excited about this ideal that they have.
Yeah.
But a better place really to start is thinking about the strategic questions that will guide you and help you create your business's plan. And so what these strategic questions are is, why are you setting up your business? Chris mentioned some of these at the start, but I mean, you'll create a different business plan if you're trying to make as much income as possible versus if you're just trying to do more of the work that you love. And maybe there's a way you can bridge both of those. We know there is. Other questions includes, what products and services will you offer and how will you offer them? How is it you'll actually deliver those services? Who is your ideal client? And how does your business model work financially? And it's important to ask these questions and create that plan, because otherwise, if you don't have that good foundation, you might be stuck with a business name that doesn't reflect you. You might have jumped the gun on becoming a corporation or have chosen the wrong type. You might be providing services that you really don't like because you just started instead of thinking about it. And you get caught up realizing, wait, I just built this business that I don't even really enjoy doing the work in. And part of that too is that you might be working with clients that you don't actually feel passionate about. So give yourself time to explore and to plan before you really get into doing the work of your side hustle.
Yeah, I think people would be surprised to know how many small business owners have built out businesses that they don't really like. Like it sounds good on paper, and when they get in it, it's not. So we don't want you to do that. That's a big mistake. The other big mistake we don't want you to make is to not do it at all. To make the mistake of 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, you're looking back and saying, you know, I had this really great idea, and I didn't do it, and I regret that. So getting started, so you dream and then you do, right?
Right.
So the idea is that just get started. And that, again, there's planning with that. We're not saying just go do something, plan something, and then take those next steps. Because if you wait until the time is perfect, it probably will never be. There will be kids to be fed and other demands on your time and an economy that isn't as stinky as it is right now. I mean, there's always some obstacles to overcome. The question is how is it that in spite of that, you start to execute on that plan that you put together? There will be hesitation. You will have resistance. We talk about that all the time. But how is it that you just get started? And don't mistake having to get the whole thing done with making progress. So Katie asked some amazing questions, some great questions. Spend the next week and give those some thought. That's a good next step. That's taking action. And if you keep taking those steps one at a time, sooner or later, you will have a side hustle that fits you. You will have a side hustle that reaches the goals that you want to. You will have done this.
Yeah, and another great step that you can take is checking out some of Leap's resources, which will really help you think strategically about your business and can actually help you launch that side hustle that you're dreaming of.